All right, good morning. How are you guys? Can you hear me? Got some new people in the lecture today. Great to see. Just let me know if you can hear me. Excuse me. Woo. Hello, how are you guys doing today? Had a good weekend? I know it's Tuesday, so the weekend seems so far away right now, right? We're looking forward to Memorial Day weekend, I'm sure. I'm doing great. I had a really busy weekend. We had a garage sale, birthday parties, jam-packed of lots of stuff to do. I think it's like birthday party central during this time. All right. Well, welcome to week 2, live session 1. We are going to get started here. Like I said, Memorial Day weekend is coming up, so it would be great if you guys can get some stuff done early. If not, no big deal. Maybe it might be that time that you need if you don't have big plans to sit down and really get your work done this weekend as well. Most of you probably do have a long weekend, hopefully. All right. Oh, your birthday's tomorrow, Melissa. Happy early birthday. Do you guys have any plans? It's nice to have a spring/summer birthday. No plans. I'm sure you'll be doing something fun, hopefully. Very, very cool. Yeah, my daughter just turned 5 last month. It's nice to have her birthday in the springtime. Just something to look forward to. All right. I finished up a lot of your evaluations from last week, overnight last night. So if you turned in anything since then, I have not looked at it because I was grading up until really late last night. But I do want to say, for those of you who did turn in your work, I saw a lot of great things. And I hope that you really got a lot out of that assignment, working with a template, and we'll kind of build upon that this week. Obviously you're not going to be using a template for your make from scratch infographic, but hopefully you were inspired by some of the elements used in the templates for your assignment coming up. Do you guys have any questions before we get started? And I'll just go over the agenda here. I'm just going to go over some announcements, week 1 review. Actually, I'm going to do week 1 review on Thursday because I didn't get a chance. I was up really late last night evaluating a lot of your work. So I'm going to pull some of your examples for Thursday to show you guys. Just assignment 1 examples from just a few of you that I thought were good to show. I will show that on Thursday. We'll do a week 2 overview. We'll look at your discussion and your assignment 2. And then we'll take a look at some infographic examples in regards to the assignment coming up. We'll look at some past student examples here. Any questions before we get started? Thursday, we'll go over your assessment 2. So if you want to hold off, Thursday's a little late, but if you want to hold off for clarification, I'm going to do a demo on Thursday for assessment 2. Excuse me. Ooh. Waking up here. Just to kind of go over some things. Some grades are posted. Well, I did actually grade all of yours, so that they are all posted. Just kind of make sure that you're reading the evaluation, the rubrics within your feedback, so you can gain as much as you can from it. And let me see here. Why was I flipping over back to this? Oh, announcements. That's what I was doing. So announcements, this is kind of how I communicate with you guys. I did post what we're going to be going over this week. So week 2 rolling in, what makes a successful infographic design. So if you didn't get a chance to check that out, just kind of an overview of what we're going to be going over in week 2, and a reminder of your learning objectives and your live lecture times and days, since they shift every week. Also, the learning coach week 2 schedule info and contact information, Tara, when she's available this week. If you need extra help, she is there for you, possibly if her schedule is free. And then I just posted these. This is actually a really cool article. If you get a chance, I pasted this part from the article, so this is kind of a snippet of the article, but it talks about 12 infographic tips that you wish you knew years ago. So if you click on this link here, it takes you right to the article. I think it's a really kind of an interesting article that isn't super long, that you can actually see visuals with the examples of each tip here. And I think this is a great article to take a look at before going forward with your assignment too. Just some things to think about. So go ahead and check that out. Did you guys enjoy working with the templates? Or maybe you had issues with it? What's your thoughts? What are your thoughts on that? Both? Okay. So it was fun and then equally frustrating. Okay. I think it's just like learning something new. If you're not used to working with templates, it can be a little frustrating, a little kind of, learn as you go. But I think for the most part, a lot of the templates out there now are really easy to edit. It's just maybe exporting it, which we kind of talked about last week. If it wasn't easy to export, you could just do a screenshot and send it to me. Okay. It seemed like a lot of you guys did a great job, so it was good to see that you guys came out of that with strong work. No big issues. There was very few of you had a little bit of issue with hierarchy and alignment, but for the most part, you guys did a great job. All right, if you guys don't have any questions, I'm just going to go forward here. So late submissions from week 1, just remember assignment 1 can only be submitted before assignment 2. 10% deduction if submitted by Wednesday. Final deadline end of week 2. So make sure you're getting that in by Saturday, if not sooner, if you have not submitted your assignment 1. And assessment 1 can be submitted up until May 26th unless special arrangements are made. So kind of keep that in mind. Like I said, you guys did a great job on assignment 1. Data from the site was put in there. You guys, for the most part, had a good storyline plotted out. So make sure that I did see a lot of you kind of being a little bit more vague with that, instead of saying, I'm going to go with this concept of, and then you specifically say what the headline's going to be. I saw a lot of you guys just say, well, I'm going to think of a catchy headline. Well, what I want to see is what your actual catchy headline is. So make sure you're specific in that. And if you were very vague, I would definitely point that out in your evaluation. Graphs relating to information. Some of you guys had kind of like a smorgasbord of graphs, and it's nice that you're thinking about different variations of ways to visually communicate statistics and numbers, but you want to make sure it also relates to the information. The story kind of all goes together and unifies together, or else it'll just kind of look awkward and kind of out of place. Additional info needs citations, so if you have anything that you're adding in there as facts, you need to cite that somewhere, and it can be very small or even in your submission message area. Some design pointers, just color, value, contrast, keep that in mind. You want to make sure you have that color, value, contrast that pops. Also, always think about hierarchy, because that's going to really be the key to how the viewer is going to flow. Their eye is going to kind of follow your direction of your visual poster, of your infographic. So think about ways that you can create more emphasis, say for the headline going forward. You can do so by size, making it larger. You can do it by color, making it more bold, position, the alignment and proximity of your information, and then contrast. Those are ways to create emphasis for hierarchy. There's also type combinations and font choices that you need to think about too, that that adds more contrast to it. So you can also have one serif and one sans serif, and one of those can definitely be, depending on how you have it all set, that could be what you have the emphasis on. So for example, the headline can be a nice scripty serif font, and then the body copy can be a sans serif. So that's kind of another way you can create emphasis. Bad fonts, you want to kind of stay clear of the bad fonts. Bad fonts would be fonts that are not really easy to read. If they're very decorative, you don't want to use that for body copy. Or if they're a cliche, like overly used, you want to steer clear of that. Moving bullets closer to text, I saw a lot of, that could be an issue. There could be like a big gap. You want to keep it to at least 0.25 inches away. You don't want to be too far away, then it looks odd. And you can change those in paragraph styles in InDesign. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at week 2, designing effective infographics. I'm going to go over your objectives, media resources, discussion, and then your assignment. We're going to leave the assessment for Thursday. Okay, so if you go to week 2 here, just kind of take note. You have your learning objectives in here, which I pretty much also had this in your announcement. So this week you are going to be walking away from, in your discussion, you're going to discuss how data visualization relates to the perception of infographics using graphics. Utilize a vector graphing tool to add pictures and symbols to graphs. And design an infographic that visually presents data as a clear and understandable story. All right, so this week we will continue to talk about infographics and what makes a successful infographic design. You'll be using your plan from week 1 to design an infographic with customized charts and graphs by using some cool tools in Illustrator. Let's go ahead and take a look at this short video here. And this explains about different types of infographics.
So you have your idea, you've done your research, and you've collected your data. You're probably wondering what type of infographic design will best represent and communicate your information. As you think about your infographic design, consider these 7 common types of infographics. Number 1, the list infographic supports a claim through a series of steps. It is best used to support a specific claim or argument. Your list can go from top to bottom, left to right, or it can even move across your canvas. Number 2, the comparison or versus infographic compares 2 things in a head-to-head study. It is best used to highlight differences between 2 similar things or highlight similarities between 2 unlike things. It is also used to prove how one option is superior or inferior to the other option. Number 3, the flowchart infographic provides a specific answer to reader choices. It is best used to provide personalized answers for readers or show how multiple situations can reach the same conclusion. Number 4, a visual article infographic makes a piece of writing more visual. It is best used to cut down on text or make an article more interesting and enjoyable to consume. It also increases sharing potential through social media. Number 5, the map infographic showcases data trends based on location. It is best used to compare places, culture, and people through setting-centric data and demographics. Number 6, timeline infographic tells a story through chronological flow. It is best used to show how something has changed over time or make a long, complicated story easier to understand. It can also show how one thing leads to another. Number 7, A data visualization infographic communicates data through charts and graphs. It can even showcase data through design. It is best used to make data-driven arguments easier to understand and make facts or statistics more interesting to absorb. Which type of infographic will best represent your information? Tell us in the comments section below.
All right, so that was pretty interesting. This week we're going to be basically doing number 7, which is data visualization. So it's kind of neat to see the different styles and the different purposes of different infographic styles. All right, don't forget to course media. You should be checking in here every week. Just like in week 1, you have week 2 set down in here with required articles. This actually is a pretty short list here. Looks like just one article is placed of the infographics best practices. Looks like there is just kind of covering the simplicity and design, building the narrative using data and color. So go ahead and click on that and read through that. The lynda.com playlist, like I said, very beneficial resources here, but something that you might not go through every single, you might not watch every single recording, just go to it for specific purposes. Like for instance, if you're looking to choose the appropriate graph, this is a video that you might want to watch. Okay, so you might be searching for something specific in here that you will, take a look at and can help you out to support your project. So don't forget, those are in there. Also, don't forget your daily checkpoints. Those are also supplemental extra credit resource that you can take every day for an extra 5 points, and that all kind of adds up as we go forward here. Any questions about any of that? All right, let's go right into your discussion. A lot of you guys have started on this, which is great to see. I'm going to go read through this, and then you let me know if you have any questions. Let me zoom in here a second. Read this a little easier. All right, so what we're going to be doing is discussing what makes an infographic successful. It's always good to know what makes it successful and work, because we want to make sure that what we're doing is successful. What's nice about infographics is it's not just having to be a purpose of a poster. You could be reading an article in a magazine, for instance, and an infographic might be a really nice way to show what that article is talking about factual wise, if it calls for it. So little things like that, it's not necessarily, an infographic doesn't necessarily just have to be a poster. It can be implemented in a lot of different ways. Okay, when creating infographics, you're using imagery to explain something abstract, helping the audience understand relationships between pieces of data and what those relationships mean. The same goes for judging what makes a good infographic. Looking at and comparing design is a good way to learn what to do or not to do. When learning about a visual industry, you need to have visual examples of successful and unsuccessful designs to fully understand the differences, as words have a way to be left open to personal interpretation. You can go ahead and watch the short video about 5 attributes that make for a successful relay of information in an infographic. So go ahead and take a look at that. It's about 4 minutes long. Another benefit of using infographics online is how shareable they are. Through pushing your infographic on the web and social media, it can quickly become viral and spread in a way text never would. You can embed links and promote your idea, product, or brand. For an infographic to reach its full potential, it needs to be formatted for optimal sharing. So you need to consider how it will most likely be viewed, printed, or on a screen or a mobile device, or maybe even all. So thinking about that, going forward. All right, so your prompt states, research what makes an effective or unsuccessful infographic, and post one sample of each. Compare the two and explain your thoughts on the key reasons why one is successful and the other one not. some aspects to explore. What are you getting out of the story it is telling? Maybe you're not getting anything. Maybe that's why it's failing. Maybe it's hard to read. Maybe there's no story. Maybe it's very vague, or maybe the opposite. How do design principles apply? How do they apply to effectively visualize this information clearly, or vice versa? What impact does the color and the typography choices have? And how effective is each when it comes to shareability? Melissa said, are we to discuss what we research before we show our example images? I think the idea is to show each example and then explain why, what makes them successful and what makes them not successful. And in that, yeah, you'll kind of go over what makes it successful and not successful. Yeah, it's kind of written kind of a little confusing, so I understand your question. So for your citation, you might use articles that show examples of good balance or bad infographics. You can also find articles from experts that suggest what makes a successful infographic. Be sure to embed or link your graphics and cite your sources so we can see them. We don't have to click on them to view them. If you need help on doing so, this is the explanation here. And don't forget you're kind of hitting upon all of your requirements here for your initial post and your reply requirements. Yeah, so basically you're going to research what makes an effective or unsuccessful infographic. So you're going to go and research that first. And then you're going to find one sample of each, one example. So a good and a bad. When I say good and bad, effective and not effective in your opinion. And then go ahead and explain the points, some aspects to explore. You don't have to hit upon all of these, but this kind of helps you kind of talk a little bit more in detail about what works, maybe what may not work in those examples. Does that make sense? So what we're getting out of this too, really, is we're seeing what works and what doesn't work so that we know to steer clear of what doesn't work and why it doesn't work. Be very specific on why it doesn't work. Talk about the design elements. I wouldn't say there's subjective and there's objective when you're looking at certain things. So subjective is, I don't like the color blue, so I don't think it works. No, that's not going to work because that's your opinion, right? So be objective. Instead of saying, I don't like the color blue, maybe what you meant to say, or what is better to say is, I think the color blue doesn't work for this because this other color would be more appropriate because, and then support it with factual information. All right. And there's some really bad infographics out there. There's some ones that are like, what's going on here? I have no idea. So you can try a Google search, or ineffective, I should say. Ineffective infographics. Go ahead and do an image search for that. You can kind of peruse through certain things. Some of them are really, really super busy or too much information. There was an example. Let's see here. There was one that I had in here and I lost it. Tons of information and really hard to see. It was almost like you didn't even want to look at it. Depending on where you're viewing this, if this is a poster, it may not work well. But go ahead and do some research. I put ineffective, maybe bad would be a better word. It's kind of like the keyword game here. This one, here's useless infographics here. So if you want to use this link here. Let me get rid of this pop-up here. Hold on, guys. All right, so you guys can check this out. And then it kind of talks about why they think that this does not work. Here's a funny one there. So this is a good link. I'll send you guys, or I'll put this in the chat here. You guys can access this. This is one that I quickly found through Google. That's okay, Christina. Welcome. You guys can check out. All right, and then there's also ones obviously that are, you know, more effective than non-effective. All right. So I think it'll be cool to see what you guys find and see, you know, kind of what your take is on what makes it effective and what makes it ineffective. And I think you guys will learn a lot from this discussion, just kind of looking at these examples and understanding what works and what doesn't work. All right, going forward here. All right. So basically, this is assignment 2 that we're going to be starting here. Did anybody have a question about assignment 1 before you even go into this? Your assignment 1 was your strategy, what you're going to do, your concept strategy for your infographic for assignment 2. No? Okay, I'm going to take that as a no. All right, so what you did in assignment 1 was you are pretty much starting the design process, and you guys were gathering information, brainstorming, and coming up with a strategy. And this strategy is what will help you go forward with your assignment 2. And you're going to be designing your own infographic, not using a template this time. So you're going to be utilizing Illustrator and the graph tools that I showed you. You will be utilizing that as well. I'll do a demo today so you guys can see how I would approach it, and then, you know, kind of go for it. I'll show you some examples of past student work. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to read over your assignment 2. I will take a quick break after that before I get started with the demo, and then we'll see if you have any questions. All right, so you had week 1 again, strategic plan, find the story, plan the visuals, no actual graphics yet, and then you presented your plan. So week 2, we're going to design the graphic. So if you have not done week 1 yet, don't skip the steps. You want to make sure you get your assignment 1 done first before you go on to assignment 2. Analyze the data that you have. Pinpoint your message, plan a strategy, or your design will suffer. Now, this is pretty much goes for any kind of type of a design, even a logo. If you kind of start your processes, if you skip any of those process steps, you might not come up with an effective logo concept because you're kind of skipping some steps that are crucial to creating an effective logo, just like an infographic. Choose the focus, you know, choose your story. I think that's key. Choose your story. Once you have a beginning, middle, and an end of your story concept, you're going to start designing it in a way that it all unifies together as one story. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at your assignment in Canvas. We'll go over that, and then we'll take a quick break before I start the demo. I think you guys will have a lot of fun with this. It'll be interesting to see what you think after creating your template, or creating your infographic from scratch rather than a template. Okay, so you're going to create a custom infographic. And go ahead and read through the background here. I won't read it word for word. You guys can definitely read through here. It just talks about ways to create an effective infographic from scratch. You know, it talks about consistency, being clever, have clever, funny headlines, things to kind of make it more effective. Okay, so this week you're going to take your plan from week 1 assignment and bring it into action by designing the final infographic. Use your content strategy and outline to design an infographic poster depicting the internet usage across the world. Your assignment instructions are document size is 11 inches by 17, portrait or landscape, so you choose whichever orientation works best. Create it in Illustrator, the infographic. Use your content strategy from week 1 to arrange the content as a clear and understandable story. Use the graphing tools in Illustrator to create and customize the visuals of your graphs. Be sure to include the source of data. Use the principles of design and consider the components of an effective infographic. This project will be hypothetically intended for print, so set your color mode to CMYK. Any questions about that? Okay. You're going to name your file when you're done. Obviously you're going to name your AI file. You're going to save that. Thank you. And then you're going to save it as a PDF for submission. So you're going to submit a PDF file in CMYK color for grading. Then you're going to take another step. You're going to add a JPEG of the project to your Behance portfolio site and copy and paste the link into submissions comment field. So basically when you submit your PDF for submission, you're going to copy and paste that link as well into that area for your message area. You're also going to email the link to your faculty advisor, and you're going to CC me on that. Any questions about that? Okay. And then it just says always best practice, always keep your native working files. We just talked about this for future revisions. You never want to like save over your AI file with a PDF just because if you need to change it, which you most likely will, obviously for your portfolio, you want to keep that native file in there. All right. If you click on this link here, it just takes you to that site again that we talked about, the World Internet Usage site. Just wanted to show you this real quick. That was from week 1 when you guys were developing your content strategy plan. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick 5-minute break, and then I will go ahead and do my demo based on kind of how I would approach the project. We'll talk about that, see if you have any questions about the tools in Illustrator. I will create this assignment in the demo, and then I'll show you kind of how to upload it and all that good stuff. I will also show some student examples in past classes, so you guys have maybe other various examples to look at to be inspired by. Sound good? All right, so go ahead and grab your coffee, juice, whatever, tea. We'll be back in about 5 minutes, and we'll go forward from there. All right, see you in 5. All right, can you guys hear me? You might hear my little puppy barking. He just got out of surgery yesterday, so he's not happy. But all is good. It's just he got neutered yesterday. So. All right, he's in the best place possible right now, which is his crate. You just might hear him yapping every once in a while here. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. Oh, he's good. Yeah, he made it through well, and he's doing great. Just doesn't like to be in that crate. He's pretty spoiled and well taken care of, so. All right, so no questions about your assignment 2. Did anybody get started with this yet? Some of you might have. Maybe just looked at it. Okay, so don't forget you're taking the plan from your assignment 1, so you can go ahead and go back, reread some of this information if you need to. And we're going to be taking this information just as we discussed and create your own infographic from scratch. All right. With that being said, I'm going to go ahead and open up Illustrator. I already actually have it open up. I'm going to do create a new document here before I share my screen. For some reason, it doesn't share certain things. Certain panels. I have to actually, let me see if actually it'll share this. Let me see here. So you guys can see this part at least. Can you see this? So I went to Illustrator and I went to File New. Okay, great. Okay, so when you go to File New, awesome. You have options to do your width and your height. It's going to be 11 by 17, so you can pick your orientation. You can do portrait, which is more vertical, or horizontal. Landscape is what that's called. Just do one artboard, that's fine. You don't have to worry about, well, you know what, you can set your bleeds. I'm going to set this at 0 just because, actually, let me set it to 1.25. It's always good to kind of be in habit of that, 1/8 of an inch. Your color mode should be set in CMYK. Gives you like a little warning here. It says the chosen color mode is different from the color space defined by the document profile. Panel content may not match the new color mode. That's okay, click. That's fine. Raster effects, 300 pixels per inch is what we want. Default preview mode, and then click create. And then I lost my screen. There you go. I'm doing a more of a landscape. You don't have to do the landscape. You can do the portrait depending on, and that's kind of part of the plan and what your graphic's going to look like. All right, so we have this key information given to us. And a lot of that key information is the information that you guys, you know, kind of played around with your template. No, I'm sorry, that was a different, you guys were using different information for your content strategy. Sorry about that. All right, so think of a really good headline for your strategy. You might have, and I wanted to kind of have you guys have this set before you created your actual infographic. So that's why I said, you know, it's good to kind of be specific about your headline, because I think this would help your concept and kind of concept development as you go forward. All right. I'm going to utilize, because, you know, we're talking about these regions and they have these percentages of internet users by region. I'm going to do this by showing an interesting, and I showed you in my content strategy this too, an interesting visual showing kind of like a map, a global map. So I'm going to utilize the chart here, the pie chart graph. But before I do that, I'm going to set my background. And this is something that you could do the pie chart first if you want, or the background. It's completely up to you. I'm going to go ahead and go File, Place. I kind of thought this out ahead of time, my whole look of this. So I went and researched I researched, I think it was pixabay.com. I looked up textured backgrounds that look very technical looking, and I downloaded this really cool, it almost looks like a web, abstract web techie type of wallpaper. And this was free, and it's high res. And again, it was pixabay.com that I got this from. I think this would be a really cool background that I can utilize for my infographic. The only bad thing about this is it's very contrasted and busy. So what I want to do is create another rectangle over top, maybe fill it with black. And this, I'm going to actually, let me size this to my, I'm going to select the rectangle. I'm going to hit one time on my artboard, and I'm going to make this the same size as my document here. Okay, and then I'm going to double click on my fill, and I'm going to fill it with a rich black, which would be the very lower right hand corner. This black is not as rich as this black. This black has most of the color in here. You can see the CMYK is loaded, and click OK. So that's the richest. There's different types of blacks. I don't know if you guys realize that. So that is the richer, darkest of them all. All right, so with that being said, I want to make this opaque because I do want to see some of the background. So up here, when I select that black rectangle, I can dial the opacity down so I can kind of see, not all, but a little bit of that background coming out. So I kind of want to see a little bit of that texture pop in through. So we'll do 85. See how that kind of makes it a little easier if I put type on this to read. It's not so contrasted and busy. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to clipping mask this image into my square here so that I don't have this overhang. So I'm going to select the background, and I'm going to hold down the shift to select the rectangle together. And then I'm going to go up to object on my menu bar and choose clipping mask and make. Now what happens, and this is a good kind of learning example here, is when I clip them, because of the way that I selected them, the background, which I wanted to be the background, goes forward. So I'm going to undo this, and I'm going to select my rectangle first, and then shift select my background and do the same thing. Oh, it did the same thing. This is the front. Hold on one second. I thought that was gonna make my background. All right. That kind of undid what I was just gonna tell you. So let me go back and show you here real quick an easy solution to this. Because of the mask, it's not allowing me to select what goes back unless I put this actually in the background. So I'm gonna set this in the back. 85% transparency, select both. Let's see if this actually makes it. No, it's not going to do it either. Okay. Let's try it a little different. I'm not going to give a transparency to this, but I am going to select both of them and go up to clipping mask, and we're going to work around this a little bit. Then I'm going to select the image, and I'm going to dial this down. Oh, it's not even going to do that either. Wow. Okay. Sorry, guys. This actually worked before, and it's not doing this for me. Let's try this. Let's go 0. We're just going to make a rectangle the size of that, and we're going to clip this first. Okay. And then we're going to do the rectangle over top. Looks like we can't quite do what I wanted to do. Kind of like doing a second step here. Okay. What in the world's going on here? Hold on one second, guys. Very strange. Okay, I'm gonna make sure my opacity is up. Opacity, style. It's very strange. Give me 1 second here, something going on. All right, I'm just gonna dial this up. Looks like I can only put a swatch on this in my appearance. All right, for some reason I was trying to fill it before and it wasn't working. So in your appearance panel, you have a fill too. It's like another way to do it. Go ahead and fill that with the color that you want, and then we're gonna dial the opacity down. So it's a couple other extra steps there. All right, and then I'm just gonna dial this down. I don't know why it does it like that. It's kind of strange, but you know, just kind of have to work with what we got here. I thought that clipping mask would work, but it's not. It looks like it's a little bit more dark when I do it this way, so I'm going to dial it down to about 60% instead of the 85. That looks pretty good. And let me go ahead and save this here. Okay, week 2, first and last name. I'll save this to my desktop for now. All right. It looks kind of weird here. Hold on 1 second. Like something's not aligned. Zooming in always is good, just so we can make sure we're all on the same lines here. Yeah, my clipping mask is all weird too. Let me release this real quick. There's a way to release this if you just, oh, there we go. Move this down. We're gonna go to edit mask. Let me zoom in here. See how it's not quite the size of the canvas. Now I'm going to kind of make it the size of the canvas. That looks pretty good. Okay. Had some gaps there. So zooming in is always good to do. I'm going to zoom in on this too to make sure we're aligning everything right. So I'm just getting the background texture in there. You don't have to do a texture. It's just something that might be nice to have. Kind of adds a little bit more of a pattern to it. It makes it more dynamic looking. And it doesn't have to be a full focal point. It just has to be like a texture. Look less flat looking. All right. The next thing I'm going to place in here, actually I'm going to do the graph next. So remember how we went and looked at these graphs in here in your toolbox? If you click and hold down that click, it's going to show you different graphs to play around with. Now for this one, I'm going to go with the pie chart, but if you wanted to do the bar graph, you can choose those, custom graph tool, stats column, line graph. So, you know, researching the different graphs will give you an idea of which is the best for your infographic. For this one, I'm going to do the pie chart. So I'm going to go ahead and draw out my pie chart. I'm going to go ahead and click and drag down. And then when I'm done, this little cell sheet will open up. Now, what I want to add in here are the percentages that were given to me of the regions, and the percentages start with, I believe, 4%, which is the Middle East. So we'll put 4 here in this cell, 10% in this one, 17% in this cell. That's for Europe. Asia was 50. Africa was 10%. Make this wider here. Oceania, Australia was 1%, and then 8% for North America. When you're done, click the little check mark, and you're going to do it horizontally if you want it to look like a pie chart. Click that little red X when you're done. So you can see here, this is kind of based on the percentages we placed in here. So you kind of want to remember where you started. So the 4% is this darker gray. If I take my selection tool, this is where I can either move this around my page. If I wanted to rotate it, just select the rotate tool. And then if you want to edit it, you would just use the selection tool underneath the direct selection tool. Selection tool looks empty, and you can actually select, I'm sorry, the direct selection tool is where you would select each piece. The selection tool is where you would actually move it, the whole thing. Okay. You can change the color. You could do, you know, whatever you kind of want to do with that. All right, I'm going to change the color right now. Actually, before I do that, I have an idea of putting a globe in here. Let me get this bigger. And I'm going to choose my scale tool, double click on that. And I'm going to uniformly scale this. I'm going to do it 120%. And we can make this actually smaller too if we want. Let's do 105. Get a little bit bigger. All right, and now I'm going to file place because I want the globe to be in the middle of this. So I'm going to go file place, and I have a picture of a globe that I also found on Pixabay. Let me go grab that. There's the world. All right, and what's nice about this is that it's already cut out. That's kind of how I found it with a transparent background here. And I'm going to pull this up so it's kind of center. I'm going to shift select this world with my pie chart, and I'm going to go up to align, and I'm going to align this so it's centered. Okay. Let me group this first before I do that. There we go. I'm going to pull this down just slightly because I think it's centering it with my selection bounding box and not the actual world. Okay, it has kind of a drop shadow in it, which is kind of cool. All right, I'm going to ungroup my pie chart, and from here I'm going to pull out some colors for my pie chart. So I'm going to take my direct selection tool, actually no, I'm sorry, my eyedropper tool, and we're going to pull out the darkest part in here, color-wise, and we're going to double click on that, and we're going to add color swatches. We're going to do the same here with the lighter color. Just add it to the color swatches. Same thing here. We're going to do a little bit of gray. Let's see. Color swatches, okay. Maybe this purple color. We need a lighter gray color here. So I'm just kind of adding to my swatches so I can change my pie chart information here. Okay, so then I'm going to take my direct select tool, which is the white arrow, and I'm going to select this first. Well, let me lock this object here so I'm not touching it. I'm going to select this first sliver, which is the 4%, and I'm going to choose my color swatches. And the ones that I just saved, are they in here? They should be in here. I don't see them. It's really weird. Okay, let me pull this out. Make sure they're in here. And I'm going to create a new folder for this. So I'm going to name this infographic. And I'm just going to make sure that the color swatches go in there. Drop it down in there. Drag and drop into my folder right there. So there we go. All right, so once I get that all ready to go, which I thought I did, go ahead and select that 4%. And we're gonna make this, let's see, we're gonna make this a darker one. So let's make it the dark blue. Everyone should be different in color. We'll do light blue for this one, which is the Latin America 10%. Oh, wait a second here. That's 10%. It's 4%. It's 10%. It should be more. All right, let me go back to my because I'm not quite sure what's going on here. Let me go to my, where's my properties? Here we are. My appearance. Okay, let me see here. This is my 50%. This is my 17%. This is my 10%. Okay, I have this all messed up here. This is actually 1%. This is my 8%. This is my 4%. So I just had it a little confused because I rotated it. We'll just leave this as the light gray, dark gray. Let's do this maybe a little later. We'll change this to the darker. Something like that. And we'll give us a light blue, dark blue. All right. All right, so you could do something similar to this. I think I had this a little different before. Let me do a lighter here. It'd be a little better looking. And this will be darker. Trying to figure this out here. It's giving me a little bit of a it's up to you. Kind of want to keep that the same. If you want it all blues, we can do that too. Let me see if I can get this to be a little bit more monochromatic here. You can also double click in here and change, say if I wanted this a little darker, I can do that. Although I want to copy this. Let me do a copy of this one. Before I do that, go a little darker. There we go. And then that way we can make this look a little bit more unified. That was the one thing that was bothering me here. All right, once you get this ready to go, I think this is probably pretty good. We'll just leave it as that. We need to point out each one of the examples here. So let me go ahead and rotate this the way that I want it to be, because right now it's not quite how I want it to be. I'm going to lock these layers here. And so I'm not selecting anything except for my infographic. Now I'm going to take my rotate tool and I'm going to go ahead and rotate this. And what I'm doing is I'm just placing that 1% so that it's horizontal here. And I'll show you kind of what I'm doing once that is aligned. But what you're going to do is you're going to create your graph in a visually interesting way. Either a bar graph, whatever you think is most appropriate for your design here. And then I'm going to go ahead and utilize my line tool, and I'm going to go ahead and point out certain things in here. So I'm going to go ahead and do a white line. And this line doesn't have to be super thick, shouldn't be. I'm going to go into stroke here. You can adjust this here. I'm going to do, let's see, let's do 0.75. I think that probably would be good. And then I'm going to draw another point. Let me zoom in here. So I'm pointing out that percentage area, and then I'm going to do another point. If you hold the shift key down, it makes it a perfect straight line. And I'm going to take my type tool, and I'm going to go ahead and place my type tool here. And I'm going to write Middle East. And I can't see it because it's not white. Choose the font that I wanted to use. This is something that should go with your overall look of your graphics. I'm going to keep this pretty simple. I think I use Universe Condensed Bold. And I'm going to make this bigger. Yeah, that looks good. And then the color, I'm going to do like a light blue so it's easy to see. And I'm going to align it with my line here. So Middle East is pointing out this area here. I'm going to go ahead and hit return. And then here I'm going to put the number that is in your information for how many people use the internet. And I'm going to make this white and it's much smaller because it's important information, but it should be treated a little differently just to kind of give a nice hierarchical order to it with your region name. And then I want to hit return and put 4%. Now this 4% could be, much more bold. I can even do black. Let's do, did they have black? I'll just do bold. You can make this bigger too. And then I would pick a color that kind of pops with this. So I'm going to make it something a little different than what we've been doing with the other colors here, because we kind of have a monochromatic type of a color scheme. So I want to make it the percentage pop a little bit, or the percentage part pop a little bit. So I'm going to do yellow for that. And adjust the leading so it kind of all reads together and it's equal. All right, so that would be one example of pulling that pie chart out to show you what that actually means. And what I would do is just go ahead and do the same thing for your other, your other pieces of the pie chart. You might need to shift things around. But alignment is key. I would keep everything aligned. Go ahead and go up to your view, show rulers. I didn't show you that before. And we can go ahead and set margins so that we keep everything aligned. You know, here I would definitely keep these lines aligned just to keep it nice and neat. And then what you can do for an easy way to do this, just do an alt drag, and that kind of copies that information, and you can edit it based on what this should be. So this would be North America. Okay, and that's 8%. And then I can fix my lines if it looks kind of weird, you know, make it look more aligned. I can do that too. Let me pull this all the way over here. I would give this the same stroke thickness, color, everything to keep it consistent. Do an alt drag again. The alt drag copy is a nice time saver. Oceania, Australia. And that was 1%. Any questions about that? Anything that I'm doing here? That seemed pretty clear. And you don't, you know, obviously I don't want you to do exactly what I'm doing, you know, just kind of be inspired by what you see, but do it, have your own creativity set to this, you know, based on your strategy. Thank you. You know, and I'm equally spacing these out so they're not like all crammed together either. So just be mindful of that. This is Africa. Oh, thanks, guys. 388. And these numbers might change. I think I'm using this old information here. So just make sure you have your updated information. There we go. So you can see that not only is it visually showing you the percentage in the pie chart, but it's also verbally showing you. This one will be different here. It's going to take me a little while to get all this information in, but hopefully this will make it a little bit more clear of what you guys need, what you guys can do. And like easy like steps, like the whole copy paste thing is a nice way to save time. All right, with this one, I'm going to align this differently. See how I have justify left on this alignment? So I'm going to go up to align. I'm going to justify right. Right justify. And Latin America / Caribbean. It's a little bigger. What am I doing here? Come on. So picky. There we go. This is 404, 269, 164. And I think I'm putting dots there. I don't know why. Let me change that. It's like a money. It's like money. All right, and then this is 10%. And then I would just extend this line out a little bit so that it aligns with the copy right there. Okay, on the right side, we just have 2 more to add in here, so bear with me here. Okay, that's white, that looks good. I'll drag this over. And now you'll see kind of why I did the right aligned. Europe. $487. This is 17%. And last but not least, the big guy down here, which I'm going to draw in margin guides so that I know that this one aligns with that one. Okay, another tip to do. And then go ahead and find the middle point here where you think the middle point is. I'm going to go right about here and draw out a shift. Hold down shift so it locks in place alignment wise horizontally. Make sure it's the same width. I'll drag it down. I'll copy drag. Asia is last but not least. And they have 1,938,275. Okay, and they're 50%. All right, so let's see this as a whole. Hide my guides. All right. All right, so I have everything kind of pointed out here. It's clear, it's aligned. It looks pretty good. Now the only thing is, what's missing here? Thank you. What's missing? We have all this information here. What is missing? The title, yeah. Now I'm gonna put, I'm gonna put a title on mine. You guys feel free to put more than what I'm gonna put if you need to. Oops. Yeah, a tagline or subhead. Yep, exactly. And I'm moving this without moving my globe because I have things locked here. Hold on one second. Think about that. Okay. Let me unlock some stuff here. Unlock all. There we go. I'm going to pull this down and I'm going to find center too. We're at 17, half of 17. If you don't know what center is, if you have your document set up, let's view my guides here, so that you have a square here. You can use your rulers too, for sure. But you can definitely draw out your margin guide based on the center of your document, so you know everything's kind of centered. My guides are a lot. So that's pretty center there. Okay. So I want to just make sure my elements are centered. Now my circle, this is what's kind of weird about this one. My circle is not centered, but everything else looks okay. if I were to make this perfectly centered, whoops, I locked that, but I guess I didn't. Ah, what am I doing? I'm taking my guides with me. I shouldn't be. Let me lock my guides. Let me lock my background selection. And now I can move things without it going crazy. So I'm just looking in the middle of my world. See where the little center is? Let's center that with my margin guide right there. That's centered based on my globe. Now, if I wanted to center my information, because right now it's kind of like my left side's a little bit more like, you know, closer to the edge, I can pull all of this in if I wanted to. I think the only thing that I would, let me see if I can do this with it not looking weird. Let me see if it's equal on this side. Nope, we can pull these out on this side. Just be mindful of your margin space. So I have this, let me set this at, let me see here, unlock guides. Let me set this at, let's see, 3/4. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here, just to make sure my margins are like pretty much the same. There we go. Okay, now I can make sure that this is balanced. And I'm just making sure that the words on the right and the left are hitting on the same margin. Pull these back. And then same with these, just select these together and pull this over. I'll have to fix some of those meeting up lines, but. And then just make sure when you do that, that you go back to the same width, because that'll change the width of your stroke sometimes. So if I select this, it should be 0.75. See how it goes to 0.0. So we want to make sure it goes back to 0.75 width. And now we can go ahead and pull these in a little bit. Okay. So you can go and manipulate the lines any way that you want to, whatever looks best. I'm going to pull these in closer a little bit and make them kind of bend a little differently there. There we go. And then this one's fine. Okay. So everything at this point should be equal. The globe center, perfectly center. Margins are perfectly spaced out. Then I just need my title in there. So I'm going to drop this down so that I can have room for my title. And my title should probably, obviously meet up too with my guides if I need to. So I'm just going to draw a type box out from both margin guides. And so we can see it. Oh, we got to do a different alignment here. Let's do centered. And I'm going to type in internet users by region. Now, if you want to make this more interesting, you know, have a tagline with it, go for it. Definitely make it bigger. And then you can also change the color. I'm going to choose the yellow and then the light blue. You could pop a little bit. Oops. And I'm going to pull this down a little bit so it balances a little bit better. Oh, I don't know if you guys can see that. Can you guys see this? It's on my full screen now. All right. So this would be something that you could do for your project. Something, you know, obviously you're showing the pie chart, but then you're integrating very unified images to go with that. You're implementing like a background texture or something to make it look more dynamic, but it's not heating the information. It's an aesthetic. It's just making it look less flat. You know, if I didn't have this background in there, you know, and I just had a block of color, you know, that would work too, but it wouldn't be as dynamic. It would be a little bit more flat looking. So adding in that texture kind of really makes it pop, but you don't want it to get in the way of the information either. You want to make sure it's relative, it goes with the information. Don't forget too, you can kind of add stuff to your chart. You can maybe make it a, you know, a drop shadow look. Give that drop shadow look to it. Obviously I can't see it here because I already have a drop shadow on this. But there's different ways that you can make this pop a little bit. Let me see what else. Let me see what it. There's inner glow, outer glow. You could do something like that. Can play around with that. This one you can't really see real good. So it might be better, you know, whatever you're kind of doing, it might show better, but you know, I could put a drop shadow on my words here too. It makes it pop more. I mean, you know, mine's so dark it's hard to see, but you know, it might be something that you might be interested in. This already has a drop shadow on it, so I don't even have to do that. Let me apply it to these because I already did it to the other ones. Keep it consistent. Okay. Any questions about that? No? Okay. Easy peasy. All right, when you're done, you're going to save us as a PDF. So go ahead and say export as. And okay, good. And then you're going to before you even do the PDF, you can actually do the JPEG if you're doing the save as. Go ahead and change it as a JPEG. That would be for your Behance site. So that would be file export, file export, save as, export as. If you do a file save as, that's where you can save it as a PDF. And you can do smallest file size, that's fine, because I'm just gonna view it on my computer. All right, when you save it to your desktop, make sure that you're opening it up in your program. So Adobe Acrobat. Open it up, see if it looks good. There's no pixelation to it. If everything looks good, then you're, ready to go. And this is what you would submit. And then you're gonna do one more step, which you guys have Behance memberships, correct? You should by now. If not, you'll need to sign in. I think most of you do. All right, good. I already exported my JPEG, so let me open up my Behance. Go ahead and open your Behance up if you have your JPEG ready to go. Yours might look a little different than mine because I have, a lot of this. Actually, I should probably delete this one. Delete this from my other class that I just taught. All right, so you're gonna just go, once you're logged into Behance, you're gonna create a new project. You're probably familiar with this by now, hopefully. If not, this is what this demo is for. And it's gonna give you a chance to upload your file. So you're gonna look for your JPEG that you saved. And you're gonna upload that file to your Behance. Might take a while depending on your internet access speed. There you go. Hit continue when you're ready to continue. You can put your project title in here, maybe our class name, poster, crop and continue. You can add, what this creative field was all about. I don't know if there's infographic. Information, no. Information design, nope. All right, I would probably just put graphic design, Illustrator, something like that. Graphic design, illustration. That's not really illustration. Let's put print design. And typography. We can always add tools being used. We can add Adobe Illustrator right there. Everything else looks good. When you're done, click publish and it'll publish right on your site. But it's also going to give you a URL to copy. So you go ahead and copy this. And this is the URL, so hit Command C to copy it. And that's where you're going to paste when you send it to your faculty advisor, and you're going to carbon copy me on that. So that URL you're going to paste in that email, and you're also going to submit your PDF in Canvas, and you're going to paste that URL in the message area. Does that make sense? When you go back to your home page, you'll see the little thumbnail of your, you should see this. You can edit it by clicking on this little cog. You can promote it. That's where you'll find the URL again, publish, and you can delete it. Awesome. All right, let me get out of here. So that's pretty much everything that we kind of went over for your assignment 2. I'm going to go ahead and show you some past student examples so you guys can see what other people have done. All right. Now, these may not be the same size as what you're working on because this project has changed throughout the years. So kind of keep that in mind. Here's one of them. And obviously there's definitely some certain things that need to be revised for some of these, but I just wanted to show you some good, just a variety of things so you guys can pull from that. Using pie charts on that one. Kind of similar to what I just did. Just looks a little different. Pie chart and maps. This one's a good one, kind of interesting. It kind of uses the little keys there, but doesn't really show graph. Be nice to see you guys playing around with the graph tools for this particular project. We're using a little mouse here. It's kind of interesting. Percent of the world. So you can see some of them are a little bit more visually engaging than others, you know, easier to read, easier to follow. So kind of keep that in mind with your project. This is kind of interesting, although there might be a headline here. It's just filling in the information. There we go. Yeah, this one's a good one. It kind of shows you visually the map and then keys it to the below information. This one's a little harder to understand. This is kind of a good example to show you that, you know, using too many things, too many different charts that don't really unify together, how they don't work as well. That's a good example to show you with that. Same thing with this one. You can kind of tell it's harder to follow. This kind of sticks out on the upper right-hand corner as far as the bottom image too. It just doesn't look like it belongs there. The pie chart's hard to read. The percentages are being hidden. So kind of avoid that. Oops. This one can be shown a little better down below with the population. You know, why not use a pie chart or a bar graph? It's kind of missing there. And then this is the one that I just did. So I'm using visual and verbal. I have the pie chart in mind as well as the verbal information. All right. So that is pretty much, you know, where I'm going to kind of wrap it up here. Just make sure you're hitting upon the requirements here, paying attention to your strategic plan from week 1 and also the principles of design, thinking about what makes an infographic successful and, you know, utilizing that, the effective qualities of that. Make sure it's CMYK for print, and then obviously the submission requirements. So think about less is more, so keep it simple. Data is king, color is queen. Isn't that kind of funny? You're going to build the story and you're going to have the hook from week 1 applied to it. Make it appealing and interesting, and then also, you know, you want to make it shareable for the web. So something that's easy, accessible. Designing for charts, so think about clarity and contrast, hierarchy, the direction of hierarchy, accuracy, relevance, avoid decoration, and truth, the power of the designer. All right. Ooh. That's pretty much where we are. I'm going to go forward with your assessment on Thursday, which will be another project that you guys will be working on. Let me know if you have any questions with what I went over today. If not, we'll kind of wrap it up. Yeah, that's a great question. Melissa just asked, are we allowed to change elements from what we stated in week 1? Yes, because it's a strategy, but it doesn't mean that it's concrete. Yeah. And, you know, obviously we all evolve our work and our plan, and I'm giving you suggestions too. So it needs to change. It needs to evolve. Yep. You're not stuck to it. So if your plan isn't working, or if maybe you were inspired by something else and you decided to go a different direction, then go ahead and do that. What you might want to do, and this might be a good thing to do, is kind of change it in your strategy as well, so that your plan goes along with your final project. Okay. So for just kind of giving you guys a heads up for assessment 2, you guys are going to be creating, you are going to be designing a pie chart, a line chart, and a bar graph. So you will have that experience to do that. So if you don't use, say, a pie chart for assignment 2, you will be doing one for assessment 2. Okay, so you'll be doing the 3 different graphs for that assessment. And we'll go over that on Thursday in more detail. All right, guys. Thank you for joining me. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll be around. If you want to share anything, talk about anything right now is the time to do so. If not, enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys on the boards, the discussion boards. And happy birthday, Melissa. Enjoy your day tomorrow. Thank you. All right. Have a good day, you guys.